Hey everyone. Well, this is Tuesday, January 15th, and today's homework is on 11.1 on polygons. We went over a lot of the definitions in class and then covered over when we also had talked about a regular polygon and a not regular polygon. Now, just to reiterate that a regular polygon has all congruent sides, so it means that all the sides are congruent, which means that they're all equal to, same size, and that all the angles are congruent as well. So I'm going to reiterate what we talked about, because on our homework today we were doing all even numbers, but the top four we did everything together. I'm going to go through each of these because I really want you to make sure that you're understanding the difference between a regular and non-regular polygon. So we have that that a polygon has all congruent sides and all congruent angles, and congruent means that they're the same size, and they're equal to each other. The not a regular polygon means that they may have two line segments that would be equal to each other, and then there's and the other one's not, or that they'll be equal, all the lines will be equal, but the angles will not be equal, so it makes it not a regular polygon. I want you to take note, these lines right here, this one line on each one is saying that each line is equal to each other. So that means that all the lines are congruent. So all sides are congruent. If you notice that on the angles, this is a 90 degree, this is a 90 degree, 90 degree, 90 degree, and I know this because they're right angles. So I'm going to label this as a right angle, which is also 90, and I'm going to put the little circle on top to tell myself that it's 90 degrees. So now if we take a look, all sides are equal because they all have one, that this line is equal to this line, which is equal to this line, which is equal to this line, and that this right angle is a right angle, which is a right angle, which is a right angle. And because all sides are congruent and all angles are congruent, this makes it a regular polygon. And then to identify it, well, yes, it is a square, which is also a quadrilateral. Quad means four. Okay? All right. Let's take a look at our triangle. Well, on a triangle, I know that it has three sides, but this one here and this line here are telling me that this line is congruent to this line, but nothing is congruent here. So are all sides congruent? No, it's just these two. So in order for this to be a regular polygon, all sides need it to be equal, and they're not. Only two sides are congruent to each other. Look at the angles. This angle here is congruent to this angle here, but not congruent to that one. So are all angles congruent? No, they're not. So here it would be not a regular polygon. What shape would we call this? It's a triangle. Tri means three. Okay, so it has three sides, so it's a triangle. Let's look at this one next. On number 3, this line segment is congruent to this line segment because I have one set here. This line segment, or this side, is congruent to this side here, and this is telling me this is the second set of equivalent or congruent sides. But I have two sets of congruent sides. So not all sides are equal or congruent. They don't all have the same size. This one here has a right angle, so this right angle is congruent to this right angle, and this obtuse angle is congruent to this obtuse, but they're not all obtuse, or they're not all right angles. So not all angles are congruent, and not all sides are congruent, so this is not a regular. I just misspelled it, and I'm using a pen. And I did that so that you can see it better. Regular polygon. So I'm going to try to be real careful. This is not a regular polygon because, again, not all sides are congruent and not all angles are congruent. And congruent means same. I'm going to write it above so in case you forget, because we're going to keep using those words. Same size. They're not the same size. They're not equal to each other. And so I have how many sides? One side. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this shape here has 5 sides. What kind of shape do we call this? Or what kind of figure is this called? You're right. This is a pentagon. Because penta means 5. Okay, it's a 5-sided figure. All right, remember, pause at any time that you need to so that you can catch up, and then hit the start button again to finish up. We're moving on to number 4. I'm looking at all my sides. Well, they all have one hash or one line through that telling me that there's a hash mark letting me know that all lines are equal. This line is equal to this line, which is equal to this line, which is equal to this line, which is equal to that line. So I have all congruent sides here. I'm going to look at my angles. Look here, there's only one line here, which means that this is equal to this angle, which is equal to this angle, which is equal to this angle, and which is equal to this angle. And I was just thinking I should have used different colors so that I would be able to, it would pop out and I'd be able to see it. So I just now thought about that. So if you have that opportunity, do so that would help you identify that all sides are equal and identify that all angles are equal. So this here would be called a regular polygon. Now I'm going to count my sides. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. Well, this here is also called a pentagon. So look at this pentagon. If all angles are congruent, then it's a regular polygon. We'll have all, because they all have the same equivalent congruent sides. This one here, it's not. Different angles and different size lengths on, or the lengths on the sides. All right, so I'm going to do this number 5, and I want you to think about it, because we're going to go over it in class. No, you didn't have to do it because you were doing even numbers, but I just want to make sure that you're understanding. Chantel draws a polygon with 7 congruent sides and angles, which means it'll be congruent sides and congruent angles. Name her shape. So the shape, what is the shape called when it has 7 sides? Yep, you're right. It's called a heptagon. It's a shape with 7 sides. And is this shape a regular polygon? Yes. Because, let me take that back a bit. All sides and all angles are congruent. Okay? All right, now we're going to move to the Texas flag. Name the shapes that make up the Texas flag. And are there any shapes regular polygons? So I'm going to look at here, and I'm looking inside my Texas flag, and I see 1, 2, 3 rectangles. And so this is what I did. I numbered those. So I have, and those rectangles are quadrilaterals. So I have 3, and if you wanted to say 4, but it's saying name the shapes that make up. So this is, you can't use 4 because the 4th one, this whole thing is the Texas flag, and I needed to see what makes up the Texas flag. So I need to have 3 quadrilaterals. Okay, so I had to have 3 quadrilaterals, and I need 1. Now this star here has how many sides? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What shape? What do we identify as shape that has 10 sides? Yep, you're right. It's called a decagon. So it has 3 rectangles, which are 3 quadrilaterals, and 1 decagon. Now I need to find out, are any of these shapes regular polygons? Well, I'm going to look at my quadrilaterals, and I know that this side is equal to this side, but this side here is equal to this side. So immediately, are all sides congruent? No. All angles are congruent. I have a right angle here, a right angle here, a right angle here, a right angle here, right angle here. So you can see I have all right angles, correct? So all my angles are congruent, but I do not have all sides congruent. So the quadrilaterals are not regular polygons. I'm going to look here at my decagon. Well, all the sides are equal, but look at the angles. I have acute, and then I have obtuse. So not all my angles are equal. So here I'm going to write the decagon is not a regular polygon because the angles are not congruent. Here the quadrilaterals are not regular polygons because all sides are not congruent. Okay, and then I'll say the same about the decagon. Is not, I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to make this a little smaller so that I can squeeze that in. So the decagon is not a regular polygon because not all angles are congruent. Okay, so one is not all sides are congruent, and the other one is not all angles are congruent. All right, so now we're moving over here. Make sure that if you needed to write this, make sure that you identify it on your flag. Don't just leave your flag empty, because if you've got to go back and make mental notes or take notes, you'll know exactly